Yo, when it comes to my weight, I'm not going to lie. I've been on one heck of a journey. I'd say for like 15 years. I spent the majority of my teenagehood and my early adulthood really struggling with low self esteem, being overweight, being on yo yo diets, literally thinking I'm so unattractive. And things changed for me within my latter 20s. So, in this video, I am going to talk about how it is I managed to lose 20 kilograms without dieting. Okay, so I'm going to start this video by taking you guys through the journey of how I gained weight and then how I lost the weight. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about the really important lessons I learned about like mindset and body image that actually resulted in like my weight loss happening. This is very specific to my own story and my own journey, and a lot of the things that I will be saying and the opinions that I'm going to be sharing are very specific to me and my body. Everyone's journey is different and everyone's body is different. Everyone's body needs different things, I guess. So please never take it as though I'm saying like my way is the right way. This is just my truth and what has worked for me. Okay, let me get into my story. So let me start with the context of my upbringing as it relates to food and health. So I grew up predominantly around three women: my mom, my aunt, and my gran. And I would say that my mom's side of the family, the women, if they don't watch what they eat, they are prone to gaining weight. So my mom, my aunt, and my gran, they were always watchful regarding their diets and like what they would eat, because each of them had to go on their own weight loss journey at some point in life. So I did grow up around a certain level of health consciousness, and so overeating was like never a thing for me when I was young. The most I would eat were sweets but just in general, I just grew up eating very regular amounts of food, a very healthy balance of meats and veggies and starch, nothing over the top. I would say my family was generally quite healthy and quite weight conscious. And because as a child I lived with my mother was like a gym fanatic. I remember I spent so much time in the gym in primary school or in kids gym because my mom was always at gym. Yeah, and even like for lunch, my mom would pack 2 slices of bread, yogurt, a fruit. I'd only get tuck shop money on Fridays. That was basically it. So things basically started to change or transition a bit when I was around 12 or 13. That was around the time my dad came into our lives. So it wasn't just like my mom and I anymore, and my dad would cook the meanest dishes. Like, guys, my dad was like a Jamie Oliver. To this day, I don't know anyone who cooks better pasta than my dad. I can't even order pasta in restaurants. Actually, now I can, but previously I couldn't order pasta in restaurants because no one could top my dad's pasta. And my dad would cook like really like high fat foods, and that was something that I just didn't grow up eating, so my body just like wasn't used to that. As I said, I grew up eating regular like rice, gravy, chicken, vegetable type of meals, and my dad just opened us up to a whole new system of eating, if that's what I can call it. So I think things started to change around there. And the second thing I can also point to is that I had a really close friend who also just would eat very large portions, and because we spent so much time together, I picked up on a lot of like my friends' eating habits. I know like she grew up in a house with only brothers, and I remember we would be at her house when we were younger and I would only eat 2 slices of bread, and she would be so shocked that someone would stop at 2 slices of bread. I think she used to eat like 8. And even noodles, like I would only have half a pack of noodles And for her, she just couldn't fathom how on earth any normal person could eat half a pack of noodles. So she was like, no girl, you eat the full thing. So just because of like the people I was exposed to and the change in environment, I started picking up on bad eating habits. I'd say predominantly my dad and his impeccable but high fat cooking, and then just my friends, and picking up on like what they would eat. Yeah, so I slowly started to gain weight around the age of like 13, 14. But I think when it actually became evidence that, okay, Gege's actually like picking up weight now, was when I was in grade 10. So I was 15 at that time. And when my family started noticing my weight gain, guys, I think it was pandemonium. Listen, my family had the best intentions, I think because they know how things can get if we as the mulatto woman don't control our weight. They became really hard on me regarding my diet the moment they saw that I was starting to pick up weight. As I say, it was all done out of love because, they really did want me to maintain a healthy weight. But I think the moment they did pick up some weight gain, they probably panicked a bit, and really started putting pressure on me to eat healthier, to begin exercising. I was put on diets. My mom particularly really started like monitoring what I was eating. And although it was obviously done from a place of love and like wanting the best for me, as a teenager, it was just a lot of like mental pressure that I didn't really like know how to handle. And as I say, my mom was not a big eater. She was at gym all the time. So, I really think she really wanted me to develop those healthy habits, but I just wasn't ready. I mean, my dad didn't really care about like my weight and everything. I think it was like more the woman, knowing our background, knowing our history. That whole dynamic made me start eating a lot in private. So when no one was watching what I was eating, because my eating was so monitored in public, I would start overeating in private. So I remember after school, there was a guy who used to sell chips and ice cream and all of these like yummy goodies outside of our school. And I would like binge eat or binge buy what he was selling. I would like buy 3 packets of chips and like 2 ice creams, and I would have my friends keep watch that my mom does not pop around the corner, in her car whilst I'm eating all of these goodies, because mom needs to think that I'm a healthy eater. So I was eating behind a lot of people's backs. The moment I was at home alone, I would open the fridge and I would indulge in anything and everything. So yeah, it got very, very bad. And I think like my relationship with food just got out of hand because of all the secret eating that I was doing. So obviously this resulted in weight gain. And there were moments where I'd go on diets, like I was on Wayless, and I would go on diets for a couple of weeks, and then the moment I was tired of that diet, then I would overeat in secret and I would gain weight. And this was just a cycle of like gaining and losing and gaining and losing. And this cycle probably continued throughout my high school period. I spent a lot of my time as a teenager just very insecure, hating how I looked, hating my body, struggling with self-esteem and body image, and yo-yo dieting. So in grade 11, I changed schools and I met a group of friends who actually wanted to lose weight, just as I did. So we all became quite obsessive with losing weight and dieting. We would walk to gym like every day after school. We would go on diets together. I guess you could say that was a good thing, but we were just so obsessive about our weights. It was crazy. People who know me from high school know that like I was always on like some form of diet. I remember one of my friends saying to me, Gege, each time I meet you, you're on a new diet plan or you're cutting out something, but you're always on some form of weight loss regime. He said this to me in my early 20s though. And it was true. There was always something I was trying to do. Like, I did not rest, guys. In high school and my early 20s, I did not rest. So after high school, got to varsity, and obviously varsity, there's like a greater sense of freedom. I'm still living at home, but yeah, I just had a greater sense of freedom. And I know that within my first and second year of varsity, I actually gained even more weight. Varsity has all of these amazing junk food outlets, and I just indulged. So my highest weight, I remember, was 90 kilograms in second year of varsity. Things began to turn around in my final year of varsity. So I'm going to call this phase 1 of my weight loss journey. And yeah, this was my final year of varsity. I was living away from home for the first time. So I shared an apartment with a few friends, and being away from home or living outside of home for the first time was so good for me in terms of having my own sense of personal responsibility and just autonomy regarding what I should eat, when I should eat, and it's all up to me now, like I have control over what food I buy. And there's something about not being pressured to do something and you making that decision for yourself that just causes a shift in you. And so I think in the beginning, I probably did eat whatever I wanted to eat, but at some point in that year, I just decided that I wanted to lead a healthier lifestyle. And I started cooking healthier foods. So I remember my housemates thinking I was pescatarian because I was always making fish, fish and vegetarian meals. And that's because I genuinely enjoyed that type of food. And also there was a gym in our apartment block. So I joined the gym and I was exercising often, and really, I did not even go on a diet. Generally, something just inspired me to lead a healthier lifestyle, and I did that. So I remember within the final 3 months of living at that apartment block, or my final 3 months of varsity, I managed to lose 7 kilograms, and it was very unexpected. Now, I would say that phase 2 of my weight loss journey happened when I started working. So this was right after varsity. I honestly found my groove when I began working. There is just something about the work environment, about learning new skills and just contributing to the flourishing and growth of a company that I just really, really loved. I really, really liked the work that I did, and I felt so much growth and so much purpose in that I really just immersed myself in my role, and I flourished in a sense. And there was a sense of fulfillment that I found working and making my own money that just made me focus less on food. I know it sounds crazy, but when you really wake up so excited about other aspects of life, then those things that you previously utilized as a crutch end up falling away without you noticing. And so I'd say number one, me really feeling purposeful in life helped me so much, just mentally, and really in helping me detach from food. And the other thing was I really was on a personal development journey, and I think just that process of learning to love myself more, reading certain books and just generally wanting to grow as a human being, I was just so immersed in that, in work and in personal development, that food became less of a comfort, what do you call it? The other thing, and this was a pivotal moment actually, I don't remember if it was something that I watched or something that I read, but I remember this lady specifically saying that anyone who wants to lose weight needs to actually stop calling themselves fat. Never use that word. I don't even remember where I heard this, but I remember thus changing everything for me. From that day, I made the decision to stop calling myself fat. And guys, literally, and this is why I say like mindset is so important, because when I stopped calling myself fat and stopped identifying as a fat person, my mind just made that shift. For me, it even felt supernatural. And this is why the words that we speak are just so important, because you really do line up with what you identify yourself as. And I hope this doesn't sound wrong or insensitive, but the moment I stopped identifying myself as a fat person, the binge eating stopped, the yo-yo dieting stopped. That one action of never calling myself fat again, that one vow to never call myself fat again, has literally changed my life to this day. If someone said to me like, what is the one thing that you need to do to lose weight, I would say stop calling yourself fat. Because honestly, for me, that was my lead domino. I stopped hating myself and stopped binge eating and losing weight, and then binge eating and losing weight. Like that all just fell away. I just focused on other things. I focused on my calling, I focused on my purpose, I focused on like loving myself more. And automatically the way I would exercise started to change. Previously, I used to exercise for the purposes of losing weight. So I would choose really high intense workouts, and I would just like tire myself out, which would make it very hard for me to be consistent, right? Because I wanted to do the exercises that would lead to the most weight loss. And literally, I then switched to exercising because I loved my body and I wanted to enjoy what I was doing. And my experience of exercise changed completely. You know, I found classes that I really loved. I fell in love with step class, which is, you know, cardio and choreography. But there just wasn't this pressure of, you have to lose weight, you know, so you need to go and exercise for 2 hours. No. Exercising for 30 minutes became completely okay for me, you know, because I was doing it for the enjoyment. And in that way, I became a lot more consistent. And then the other thing is the way I would eat. So no longer was I now, you know, eating less just to like lose weight, but now I was just now eating based on what I felt like my body needed or like what I enjoyed. So I never felt a need to deprive myself of things. I still ate what I wanted, but I just started eating in proportion. Just by changing how I identified myself, these changes happened within me supernaturally. So I remember, you know, actually becoming a vegetarian, not because I wanted to lose weight, but, you know, at that time, I was really into animal rights. And so I just became a vegetarian for those reasons, and I stopped eating meat. But, you know, I was just never so obsessed and hyper-focused on losing weight. And all of a sudden, people who hadn't seen me for so long would see me and be like, Keke, what happened to you? You've lost so much weight. I did not even notice that I had lost weight. Literally, people had to tell me. And even with regards to exercise, that's actually even how I got into yoga. You know, no one would think of yoga as like a weight loss avenue, but I started doing yoga just for, you know, bodily reasons and like self-love and just being more flexible and, you know, learning to do cool moves. It was never I need to lose weight things. Yeah, so just a combination of those things just worked wonders for me. But then comes a little bit of a spanner in the works, which is in my latter 20s. So as most of you know, in 2019, I had my experience of conversion. Or not most of you, I'd say people who have been here or have been following my channel from the start know that I was a non-Christian and I became a Christian, right? And along with that were a lot of life changes and a lot of unexpected changes to like my regular routines. And one of them was I actually stopped practicing yoga, right? And that was for spiritual reasons. But like, I won't lie, like yoga was a very, very big part of my health journey. A lot of healthy habits I had picked up in like my yoga circles and like my yoga practice, and I was so consistent in my yoga practice, and that's really also just like kept me at a healthy weight. And when I stopped that, it just caused a lot of disruption. I just did not have a routine anymore. And then lockdown happened, and I actually started like picking up weight again. And so like after years of not being like heavily weight focused, I think in 2020 I kind of started panicking. And I remember even making a video about this, venting whilst I was in the midst of it. I've since taken that video down, but I was at a moment of realizing that I had put on weight again, and it just took me back to a lot of like the trauma and the weight struggles that I had had in previous years. And so this time actually, I think, was probably the first time that I became deeply intentional about my eating and exercising as well. I was struggling with gluttony at this time. It's lockdown, I don't really have an exercise routine, I'm eating whatever. I literally felt as though I couldn't stop myself from constantly going to the fridge. I even remember during the lockdown period, I was at home with my mom and my sister and I was the only one who would constantly go back and forth to and from the fridge. Like my mom and sister barely ate, I was eating all the time. I don't know what was going on with me like in that period, but yeah, I was eating a lot and like the weight piled up. And I remember my mom even like making me aware, like, girl, you are picking up weight, what's going on, Yeah, number one, I took it to prayer. I literally asked God for deliverance from gluttony, because gluttony was my main problem. I was part of a women's group at that time. I asked the ladies in my women group, I was like, guys, listen, I'm struggling with gluttony, I need prayer. I went to my church cell group, I said the same thing, I'm struggling with gluttony, I need prayer. Anyone and everyone, like, I asked for prayer to be delivered from gluttony. And then I also went on a fast, a 7-day fast, but it was a partial fast. I'd only fast one meal a day, if I'm not mistaken. I think I was only fasting dinner, but I went on a 7-day fast, and the fast wasn't for weight loss. The fast was literally asking God to break the chains of gluttony like from my life. And this is also why I can honestly attest to the power of fasting, because God delivered me from gluttony. Another thing about deliverance, and I think I said this in my fasting video, it's not like when you deliver of something, it's not going to rear its ugly head again, That's why for me now, the area of eating and food is always something that has to be approached with intentionality in my life. But the space I do it from is very different from in the past. Like now, I will watch my eating from a place of self-love, from a place of wanting to honor the temple that God has given me, and to make sure that this temple can operate as a vessel for God's glory. I can't do that if my body is not in a good state. So just how I think about everything is different. But anyways, I'm digressing. So yes, that happened, and following that fast and following me asking all of those prayers, things really changed. I was inspired to start eating healthy again. I bought healthy food for my home. I cooked healthy food very often. I started jogging. Oh my gosh, guys, running has never been my thing. But during lockdown, because gyms were closed, I started running on the roads. I would run 4 or 5 kilometers about like 3 times a week. And through those small change in my habits, the weight just like fell off again. And by the way, guys, I'm still a curvaceous woman. I'm just so much better than I used to be before. Like 20 kilograms weight loss is a lot, and even like where I am, I know that I still have strides to do in terms of my health, but honestly, I'm just so happy and just satisfied like with where I'm at. Like honestly, I love myself and like I love my body. There are still areas of my body where I have insecurities. I think all of us do as women but I just know that I'm in a much healthier place than I used to be in the past. And I can walk into a clothing store and like buy the clothes that I want to wear at the size that I want to wear, and that really does like make me happy. I'm not going to lie, and I really want to maintain that health consciousness. Food just doesn't control my life anymore. I go through moments where I'm eating a lot or I'm eating a little, but it's just such a healthier spirit around how I treat my body and consume food and how I exercise and why I exercise. And I'm just so appreciative of that, you know. And I think it's an accumulation of all of these small habits that I picked up over my 20s. I've just learned to treat myself better. I've just learned to enjoy healthy foods. And so eating healthy doesn't even come hard to me anymore. You know, for me, having a smoothie for breakfast is a normal thing. And so, you know, even though I feel like my family was hard on me in my early days, I still see how much that has benefited towards my health journey now. And like, I'm just so grateful. And even when I do go through a period of time where I know I just haven't treated my body well, I literally don't beat myself up about it. I just wake up the next day and do better. I also don't weigh myself anymore. Like, me and scales, you know, I have such a long history with scales and weights, so I only like check my weight maybe like once every 3 months, if even that. I just judge by how my clothes fit me. So I just try to keep things as light and as easygoing as possible. I don't deprive myself of anything. I do try to be proportionate when I do eat. I do have my moments of overeating, especially on the weekends, but I'm a work in progress, you know, and I still have body goals. Do I actually have body goals? Well, I mean, I just want to feel the best and look the best that I can. If there's one thing that you can take away from my journey, is change your vocabulary around how you talk about yourself when you are not at your best, you know, and how you treat yourself during those periods. Just be kind to yourself, take things easy, be light, talk to God. 5 lessons that I've learned from 15 years of body struggles and eventually just like coming out of that. Lesson number 1 is developing a new identity. Identify yourself as a person who is well and healthy, and your mindset will make the shift. Secondly, find meaning and purpose that excites you. So having other things to look forward to, goals, dreams, visions, things to work towards, just makes you rely less on food as a crutch. Number 3, fasting. Fasting really just does change how you relate to food. Not knowing that you can go certain periods of time without eating, even when it's for spiritual reasons, just translates to the physical. You're just not as reliant on food anymore. You really do become more reliant on God. Number 4, start with actually only doing workouts that you genuinely love and enjoy. I was listening to this podcast the other day, and one of the guys said, focus on becoming the type of person who works out all the time, and then you can focus on intensity. Just be that person who shows up. And I think that worked really well for me. I just started doing the exercises that I loved, and over time I'd want to challenge myself a bit more. Number 5 is really awareness. Whatever area of your life that you want to thrive in, you have to be intentional about it. You know, nothing just happens by chance. I do think that most things are a consequence of your efforts and your intentionality. So me wanting to lead a healthier lifestyle, I have had to be intentional about eating healthier and making sure that I am active. It's just that I'm very easy on myself in that process. You know, I focus more on consistency and small changes at a time than intensity. If you are on your own weight loss journey, I hope you are able to find a little bit of resonance with some of the things that I have mentioned. If you enjoyed this video, please do click like, leave a comment, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.